just to take him at his word, just to rest upon his promise, just to know, thus saith the Lord. Father, we thank you for this awesome opportunity to assemble here again this morning. We thank you for your mercies and your grace. We thank you, O God, that all deliberations and discussions will be consistent with your will and your way. We thank you now, God. Let your will be done. Bless all senators on both sides and their families. Keep them in good health and wealth. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. God bless you.
Thank you, and good morning to all senators. Adoption of minutes.
Madam President, I beg leave to move for the adoption of the minutes of the last meeting of the Senate, which was held on the 26th day of April 2019.
Second.
I head to the front. Yes, the 29th day of April 2019. Pardon me. I need the front of the document, which is usually accurate, but there are two meetings, yes. 29th day of April 2019. Thank you. Mayor Tim, seconder. Thank you.
It has been moved and seconded that the minutes be adopted as presented. All those in favor would say aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The minutes have been adopted. Motions for leave of absence, leave to resign, swearing in of new senators, communications by the President. I just want to briefly wish that all mothers in the Bahamas and everywhere have enjoyed themselves and have had a great Mother's Day. I think we all know the role that mothers play in this country and around the world, so we always want to keep them in our thoughts and prayers for them to continue to do the things that they do. Messages from the Governor General. Messages from the House of Assembly.
Message from the House of Assembly.
Bahamas number 31. Message to the Honorable the President and Honorable members of the Senate from the Speaker and representatives of the Honorable House of Assembly. The House of Assembly acquaints the Honorable the Senate that they have agreed to the following resolution and desire the consent of that Honorable Chamber, namely, resolves that this House approves the A. Grant of a right-of-way over the hereditaments listed in the first schedule hereto. B. Sale by the treasurer to the purchaser of the fee simple of the hereditaments listed in the second and third schedules hereto. And C. Sale by the treasurer to N.C. Macduff's Limited of the fee simple of the hereditaments listed in the fourth schedule hereto. House of Assembly, Nassau, 1st May 2019. House and Mutri, Speaker.
Laying of documents by ministers. No documents. Laying of documents by ministers. Communications by ministers. Communications by senators. Questions. Answers to questions. Presentation of petitions. Appointment of select committees. Reports of committees. First reading of bills. Second reading and committal of bills.
We'll deal with the resolution later. Yeah. Okay.
Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Carl Bethel.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move for the second reading and committal of the Immigration Amendment Bill 2019. Madam President, this bill, in my view, is a critical part of the repositioning of the Bahamas, both as a viable financial services center in the face of the relentless assaults of the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, and the European Union, basically the largest and richest countries in the world. And also because it is an integral part in the creation and establishment of what we hope will make the Bahamas a technology hub, particularly, but not exclusively, on the island of Grand Bahama. Certainly, we want Grand Bahama itself to be a technology hub, but we want the benefits of the technological revolution to extend to every corner of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas as well. This bill is designed to equip the Bahamas with necessary tools to compete against the rest of the world. The opposition, however, both in the other place, meaning the House of Assembly, and I see from a statement issued last night, have adopted what, in my view, is an aggressive and regressive stance, seeking to block all meaningful progress by the government in addressing the difficulties in fostering, which are inherent in fostering real economic growth and development in our Bahamas. At every step, as we seek to modernize business relations, both domestically and in terms of inward investment, foreign inward investment, and in seeking to foster economic growth, the opposition have almost consistently adopted an extremely negative approach. The latest series of opposition moves are crudely designed, in my view, to foster racial divisions and to generate fear and mistrust in the minds of the public. In my view, is nothing short of crude race baiting and fear mongering. Yes. And as for the race baiting, let me say this unequivocally. This is not, as it was called in the other place, Brent's bill. It I'm sure that you'll be trying to make all kinds of other amendments as we go along. It is not Brent's bill. It is the government of the Bahamas' bill. It was approved by the full cabinet, and it reflects a statutory implementation of a policy also approved by the cabinet more than a year ago, called the Trusted Traveler Program. It was specifically crafted, that program was specifically crafted by the government to stop a situation which had emerged even under the tenure of the last PLP government, where the heads of several large companies who had invested in the Bahamas, and in some cases had invested hundreds of millions of dollars in the Bahamas already, or the heads of companies who were looking to make additional investments or investments in the Bahamas, were detained and arrested by immigration officers at the airport. Notoriously, the regional head of a major airline, who was merely visiting to explore the possibility of making a major commitment to increase the numbers of seats and planes and routes to bring tourists to the Bahamas. Needless to say, he was so upset with his treatment at the hands of immigration that he simply reboarded his airplane and left the Bahamas. Similarly, the chairman of the board of the Grand Bahama Shipyard, who is also a major executive of one of the largest cruise ship companies in the world, has been repeatedly, not just once, repeatedly detained for hours by immigration at the airport in Freeport and made to pay for short-term work permit simply to attend board meetings of the Grand Bahama Shipyard. These regressive and harmful actions by some officers to people who honestly travel to the Bahamas in a coat and tie instead of trying to deceive immigration by pretending to be a mere tourist was one of the main reasons behind the implementation of the Trusted Travelers Policy more than a year ago, seeking to ease doing business, to make it easier for foreign inward investors who are bringing jobs, employment opportunities, training opportunities, and economic developmental prospects to our Bahamas and to every Bahamian living within its borders, to make things easier for them to come and help us develop our economy. However, more than this, is my view that there is a critical need for a concrete legal amendment to the immigration law. And this need has been brought to the fore by economic necessity. So I commend the government and the cabinet in which I serve for having the courage to take difficult decisions in the best interests of the Bahamian people and the Bahamian economy. This amendment, you see, is not merely because of the government's ongoing commitment to make it easier and less bureaucratic for all businesses in the Bahamas, whether Bahamian owned and operated or foreign direct investments. This amendment is not merely for that purpose. This amendment is also needed to address a critical challenge that our offshore services sector faces. Recently, the Bahamas and every other offshore financial service sector, from the English Channel Islands throughout the Caribbean to the English overseas territories, and now also the Bahamas. Anybody involved in the provision of financial services who are regarded as low or no tax jurisdictions have been forced, I say forced, under the threat of blacklisting, economic strangulation by cutting, de-risking and cutting the financial sector of this country and all banking operations out of the world's money transferring system. These were blatant threats that the whole of the offshore financial world faced. Countries like Malaysia and Singapore, which had offshore sectors, made those amendments to their laws a year and a half ago to basically do exactly the same thing. So it's not only small island jurisdictions and states. As I said, Malaysia had an offshore financial sector on an island called Labuan, and it had what they call the Labuan regime of taxes. Well, all of those, more than a year and a half ago, were scrapped, and the same requirements that were placed on us last year were adopted by Malaysia and Singapore a year and a half ago. And these are big countries economically. Big country in terms of population, Malaysia. But even Malaysia had to bring its offshore sector into line with the prevailing view of the G20, the OECD, and of course with their the European Union, who is doing the heavy lifting for offshore centers. Recently, we all had to pass laws, and you know, the only financial sectors that don't have to comply with this are the big boys. The states of the Union in the United States and their dependencies, who get a pass because nobody can tell America what to do, but they are the largest and most powerful nation and economy in the world, so they get a pass. But everywhere else has been brought into compliance with the rules. So one of the things that we were forced to do, and every other jurisdiction in this region, and as I said, in the Channel Islands, in the UK, the Isle of Man, all of them, we were forced to bring in what they call economic substance requirements. Now this means, in short, that all IBCs, all companies, all partnerships, exempted limited partnerships, and all investment vehicles must be able to demonstrate over the course of this year and into, you know, future years, that what they call core income generating activities are being undertaken and conducted in the countries where those companies or vehicles are incorporated. Now, what are these core income generating activities? Essentially, they are decisions that will affect the control, the direction, the management, and the strategic goals or activities of every one of these investment vehicles or IBCs or exempted limited partnerships. These decisions have to be taken within and inside the jurisdiction where they are incorporated by human beings who have the necessary skills, expertise, and professional qualifications to give such advice. This applies, as I said, to every one of the 80,000 plus international business companies which we have on our register here in the Bahamas, and all companies and all partnerships. Let's be frank about it. I've said to the industry, I've said in here a number of times, and it bears repeating today, that what we see happening in financial services is a result of years of study, years of planning and strategic posturing that has enabled them to target their initiatives, this BEPS initiative is called, directly at the heart of offshore financial services. So this base erosion and profit shifting project, which mandates substance in the country where these entities are registered and incorporated, is a sword's thrust at the very heart of financial services. Because financial services is extremely price sensitive. And what the substance requirement does is imposes on the financial sector additional cost requirements that will require persons who are controlling and directing the uses of IBCs in third-party countries like the Bahamas, or jurisdictions like the Cayman Islands, or the British Virgin Islands, or the Isle of Man, or Jersey and Guernsey in the English Channel. And they were doing this from London. No longer can do so from London. They have to come buy a plane ticket, fly out to places like the Bahamas, book a room, enter the jurisdiction, and take strategic management and command and control decisions in this jurisdiction. And if those companies cannot demonstrate that core income generating activity decisions are being taken by qualified and professionals and persons with the training in the Bahamas, the Minister of Finance is mandated. He will have to strike them out off the register. That's why I said this is a targeted strike at the very heart of the financial sector. Let me give colleagues here a reminder of the provisions in the Commercial Entities Substance Requirement Act now, which we passed in December. The core income generating activities is Section 5(2). Section 5(1) states, an included entity, meaning all our companies, all our exempted limited partnerships, all our IBCs, an included entity carrying on relevant activities, meaning, and there's a list of what they are, I'll come to that in a minute, must conduct core income generating activities in the Bahamas. Section 5 goes on, core income generating activities of an included entity presupposes adequate amounts of annual operating expenditure, adequate levels of qualified full-time employees, physical offices, levels of board management and control. I think this word has been changed to direction and control within the Bahamas. And it goes on. The core income generating activities referred to above may include but are not limited to, for banking, the raising of funds, managing risk, including credit, currency, and interest risk, taking hedging positions, providing loans, credit, or other financial services to customers, managing regulatory capital, and preparing regulatory reports and returns. Insurance, predicting and calculation of risk, insuring or reinsuring against risk, providing client services. C, fund management, the taking of decisions on the holding and selling of investments. These, prior to this law, could well have been done in Amsterdam, in Zurich, in London. They have to be done in the Bahamas now in respect of any entity holding such funds or assets in the Bahamas and on our register. Calculating risks and reserves, taking decisions on currency or interest fluctuations and hedging positions, preparing relevant regulatory or other reports for government authorities and investors. So these are a host of, just for fund management, which is a major part of our offshore center. Now, today, we have more than 200 billion, I think it is, under such management. Well, Turks and Caicos and them got $1 trillion. I mean, not Turks and Caicos, the Cayman got $1 trillion. You know, we're holding our own. We have 200 billion under management. And these decisions that formerly would have been taken in Zurich and London, Paris, must now be taken here in the Bahamas. People have to hop on a plane, spend thousands of dollars to fly here, book a hotel room, spend thousands of dollars on that, arrange ground transportation, and hold meetings, not to work or do work that Bahamians ought to be doing. This is work they were doing from Paris, Zurich, and London, or other places, just to keep this business here in the Bahamas. For financing and leasing, the agreeing of funding terms, the identifying and acquiring of assets to be leased, the setting of terms and duration of any financing or leasing, monitoring and revising agreements and managing risks. These are all things that are done there. So when a company has to come and take decisions about its strategic directions in the Bahamas, they're going to need to have available to them the very persons they relied on yesterday to do the same thing in London. They don't live here. They have to travel here now to take decisions. And these decisions must be informed by their domestic advisors, their domestic tax consultants, meaning if you have investments held by Bahamian IBCs from a third-party country, let's say any European country, that decision and the placement of those assets and the dealings with those assets will be informed by the provisions of the tax or domestic law or the company law, not of the Bahamas, but of a foreign country. That's why it's here. Because some attorney or consultant or accountant gave them that advice based on their own local law as that the Bahamas is an appropriate place for whatever reason. Now, I know that they're trying to make tax avoidance, not evasion now. Evasion is a crime. Trying to make tax avoidance a dirty word, but even they can't make it a crime, although they'd like to. And Donald Trump, President of the United States, recently gave a full-throated endorsement of the legitimate right of everybody in business to take all lawful steps within the law to mitigate their exposure to taxation. Oh, no, please. Within the context of United States company law, the President affirmed the right of himself as a businessman and every other businessman to mitigate and limit their liability to taxes with it by lawful means. So that is the reality. Even in Europe, they can't take away from their citizens the right to mitigate their taxes by lawful means. And if they receive domestic advice as to how to do that from their domestic consultants, accountants, lawyers, advisors in Europe, and we want them to come to the Bahamas, how can we expect that we in the Bahamas would have any expertise in the tax or company laws of Estonia or Moldova or Spain or France? Where and on what basis do we get that expertise? So in order for these persons to come to the Bahamas to take relevant and necessary direction and control decisions, to perform necessary core income generating activities, as I've outlined, and there's a host of them that goes on. I've got to spend another half hour reading the list of core income generating activities set out in the Commercial Enterprises Substance Requirements Act, passed in December of 2018. And so we have a difficulty unless we make it as easy and as convenient as possible for persons to perform core income generating activities in the Bahamas now that they did not have to perform before December 2018. We have to make some changes. We have to make it easier, as easy as possible, for them to do in the Bahamas that which they were doing for decades in their own country, and the only cost they had was to pay their advisors on that basis, and because whatever they were doing in their own countries, they were doing anyhow. no extra costs. Now they have to fly down here, bring people with them, book hotel rooms, arrange transportation, rent an office. I don't know if we think about it, if any of us had a company in some other country and suddenly had these things imposed. We wouldn't waste our time. Say, man, just get rid of that. Get rid of that. But this is, as I said, the cold, hard, sharp thrust of the international community at the heart of financial services. I would remind the opposition, who, if the truth be told, they're very well aware of the situation. They're very well aware. This is not something that only we have had to grapple with. Since 2000, 2 Christie administrations have had to grapple with the same things that we've all were grappling with since the year 2000. They are well aware of it. And they themselves joined us in voting for these bills, and I commend them for it, because it's the only chance of survival of our financial sector. But they also must be taken to be aware of the costs, because this is precisely the whole purpose of the BEPS initiative, the Base Erosion and Profit Shifting Initiative, to impose rigors and costs, unforeseen costs, on offshore financial centers, and in effect cut us down to size, if not entirely cut us out of the picture. And so the whole world, the whole industrialized and powerful world, has an effort which is aimed directly at causing a flight of business from countries like the Bahamas and other offshore jurisdictions. We would be fools to change the whole basis upon which business is transacted in the offshore sector and to expect that things will remain the same with no further changes in our own domestic policy and way of doing business. But Madam President, if we leave the old and restrictive work permit regime in place in respect of companies that are obliged by law now to conduct core income generating activities in the Bahamas, it is clear to all, to tall and to short, that there would be a massive flight of business from the Bahamas. A massive flight from every jurisdiction in this region. Every one. And all have to begin to take a strategic look at what they can do to ease the situation, to permit these companies now to efficiently provide core income generating activities in their own jurisdiction. Even Jersey, Jersey, I don't want to say tried to jump slick, but they passed a law that did not impose the core income generating activities stipulated by the EU. They had something called Jersey core income generating activities. And a month ago they had to change it. They had to change it. They had to amend and repeal all of those provisions by any Jersey CIGA, as they call it, core income generating activities, and impose the same core income generating activities that are in the Bahamas. See, there's no escape from the rigors of the BEPS initiative. So we have to find other ways to preserve the competitive position of our country. This is the reality. Great costs have now been imposed right across the range of activity. That cost is to come to these countries and to come to the Bahamas or those jurisdictions such as Cayman, BVI, to go to them and conduct core income generating activities. So if we leave the old and restrictive regime in place, it is clear that we will lose a ton of business. And such an exodus of offshore business would decimate Bahamian employment in the offshore sector, in offshore banks and trusts and investment funds. Such an exodus of business, which is in fact, in the unvarnished truth, a goal of the OECD and the EU, would have a devastating impact on the banking sector and hundreds, if not thousands, of good paying, even high paying jobs for hundreds and even thousands of Bahamian professionals in the financial sector. So let's start there. Our mission is to ride out the storm and make it easier and not drive away business and not fall prey to the strategy of those who are attacking our financial sector. And the way you do it is we got to be smarter than them. And the way you do it is not to impose additional costs and to make it easier for persons to come in, to do their SIGA, which as of December 30th they could have done and had been doing for decades in their own country, paying their own lawyers in their country to give them legal advice about their laws, not about Bahamian law, about their laws. So, Madam President, let's look at the reality of an open economy, which the Bahamas has. If someone comes in and lands at the Linden Pinon Airport in short pants and flip-flops, in fact, if anybody lands, the reality is, but most particularly, because, you know, all he's saying is tourist, tourist, tourist. See my short pants? See my flip-flops? He could be coming to put on his suit as soon as he get in the hotel and go work in a bank, work in a law firm, work in an accounting thing, but you'll never know it because he came in his flip-flops. Absolutely, and you as a former minister responsible for immigration would be well aware of that. So if someone comes in as a tourist, the immigration officer already has extremely wide discretion to allow entry in the Bahamas under Section 22 because, my friend, we want to, no I haven't. Anyway, you're going. You were going to vote against it anyway. Under Section 22 of the existing Immigration Act, subsection 2B, the period for which an immigration officer may grant to a person leave to remain in the Bahamas shall be where a person does not produce such permit, a work permit, such period not exceeding 8 months. 8 months. So the immigration officer has power to let someone in who may, unknown to the officer, be coming to work, be some sort of criminal, and let them come in for up to 8 months without any more evidence of their intention than evidence that he has some form of accommodation paid for, like in a hotel room, and a return ticket, as specified in the Act. So what protection does such a wide discretion offer Bahamian people? It doesn't. But if a person comes in honestly and says, yeah, I'm in a coat suit, I'm coming to work in an office for a week doing the core income generating activities of my 10 or 15 IBCs so I can meet your substance requirements, he's told he has to get a short-term work permit. He is not gainfully employed. He's coming to your country to perform a service that allows your country to retain his business, and he then leaves. So, you know, if a dishonest person comes to the Bahamas looking like a tourist, but changes into his business suit as soon as he checks into his hotel and goes to work for a couple of days as a consultant, as a lawyer, as an accountant, as a bookkeeper, or some other professional, who is any the wiser? Who would ever know unless he's caught in an immigration raid? And when was the last time immigration raided an offshore bank or a Bahamian law firm or a Bahamian accounting firm? Who's the wiser? So we shoot ourselves in the head when people are being honest, detain them, as has occurred, to the detriment of the development of our country? Or do we provide a framework that allows for persons to come and take strategic decisions in the Bahamas? They're not working. They're not employed. These are persons who are in management, who are either or the beneficial owners of these funds, or who are their investment advisors, who are coming to the Bahamas to take a core income generating activity decisions. They are not coming to work in the Bahamas. They're coming to take decisions about the core income generating activities of their IBCs or investment funds or exempted limited partnerships. They are not coming to work. They're coming to decide. There's a big difference. Now, I hear all this time, 14 days. The immigration officer gives you 8 months if he wants to. 8 months. So please, the law says, our bill says 14 days maximum. The PLP propaganda machine, both in the other place and on social media, says that this bill, your question is not worthy of an answer. This bill, I answered you already. I told you, we determined on a period of 14 days. The law gives the immigration officer 8 months.
Tell me what they're saying, so I can correct it.
You're saying that it will make Bahamians second class, hewers of wood and drawers of water. Servants are worse. But the sad fact of the matter for the PLP is that it is precisely the opposite of what is happening. We are taking decisions to save Bahamian jobs, to save the Bahamian financial services sector. The truth of the matter is that without a major shift in the practical administration of immigration policies, without a major lessening of restrictive practices in relation to the core income generating activities, strategic decision making of these IBCs, we will lose hundreds, if not thousands, of jobs in the financial sector. And it is the loss of such jobs, middle class jobs, upper middle class jobs, and jobs for the, what you say, the not quite poor, I think was a comment they made in some release. The government, they said, is not helping the middle class and the not quite poor. I don't know what the not quite poor is. But but it's an idiocy on the part of the opposition. What is the not quite poor? Middle classes. The middle classes is what we're talking about. And this government is fighting to defend middle class jobs in the banking sector and in the offshore financial services sector. It is the loss of such jobs through the loss of, you see, the whole sector essentially runs on these vehicles, IBCs, exempted limited partnerships, and companies. These are the vehicles, these are like the wheels or the tires on the wheels of the sector. In order for the sector to go from A to B, to go from one position to a growth position, you ought to roll that sector along on the wheels of IBCs, companies, exempted limited partnerships. These are the wheels of the sector. And if we don't preserve them, we will have great difficulty preserving a meaningful financial services sector. It is no longer the world of survival of the fittest. It's about survival of the slickest. Those who adapt fastest and those who adapt most effectively to the changes which have been imposed on offshore centers by the world's powerhouses will have a chance to survive the onslaught. I have often said to the sector, and now I say to every Bahamian, that well enough is no longer good enough. We must change. We must adapt to the forced changes, and we have to be smarter than those who would seek to harm our financial sector. These amendments to the Immigration Act to enshrine the policy in law, first of all, it provides certainty. It's certainty that counts, not discretion. That we're able to say, look, if you're coming to do your core income generating activities for a period of up to 2 weeks, you can come in, do it, and go. Do your core income generating activities that prior to December they would never have done in the Bahamas. Come in, do your SIGA, and go. You have up to 2 weeks to do it, and then you leave. You can get your domestic tax or business license or business advice from your domestic lawyer in the Bahamas for 2 weeks, and then you all go. If we have to change, we must learn to adapt to the changes. And we have to be smarter than those who would harm us. These amendments to the Immigration Act will enshrine in law and provide certainty. Our banks, our trust companies, our law firms can go and market this ability to a challenged sector to say, listen, we know you got to come in, but you can do your core income stuff there, and you're not going to have a hassle at the border. You're not going to be arrested, detained, sent into some room, forced to pay for a work permit every time you come to do what is necessary to keep this entity in the Bahamas. So it gives our financial service sector providers ammunition and the ability to sell a proposition that yes, you have to do SIGA in a foreign country, but the Bahamas is the best and easiest place to do it. And under the core income generating activities, those companies that remain will have to rent some kind of office, thereby adding some value in the economy to persons who would rent office space. They may have to hire additional staff where none were hired before. They have to hire a secretary. They may have to hire a receptionist. These are the kinds of opportunities. So yes, they're not quite poor, who could be a receptionist or a secretary. The lower middle class, the middle class, the upper middle class can all look towards potential jobs by these companies that have to do core income generating activities in the Bahamas. But what we cannot afford to do is to pile costs and inconvenience on the costs that these laws, which are mandated throughout the world, are going to place. But we can give the Bahamas a better competitive edge over the rest of the countries in this region. And Madam President, just very briefly, the BH-1B work visa, which is the main portion of the Immigration Amendment Bill, is directly aimed at supporting, it has more of the provisions in the bill directly tied to it. Okay. Is directly aimed at supporting the Technology Hub Initiative, which is reflected in the Commercial Enterprises Bill. As work permit and visa policies affecting the technology sector in other neighboring countries become less restrictive, the Bahamas is also laying out a welcoming mat. As our financial sector continues to suffer from the relentless onslaught of the rich and powerful countries of the world, we will have to find new business opportunities new pillars of our economy. Well, Madam President, digital technology is the wave of the future, and the future is now. Today, the world is going through a new industrial revolution. It is a digital technology revolution. Those who do not embrace and grab a hold of such technological revolutions are bound to be rolled over by them. The Bahamas is taking all steps necessary to position our country to take full advantage of the digital revolution. And we're late in the game. We're late in the game as shown by the enormous advances already made by small little countries like Estonia, a tiny little Baltic state, former satellite state of the Soviet Union, recently, within the last 30 years, emancipated, now a leading technology-driven economy. And also by Malta, a microscopically tiny state in the Mediterranean. And I say, Madam President, if Estonia and Malta can make the digital economy happen, so can the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. And this BH-1B work visa is an important first step in law. Once again, it provides legal certainty. And the one thing you cannot market to inward investors is uncertainty. The best asset and the best bargaining chip any country looking to develop itself and looking to attract foreign direct investment can offer to the investing world is certainty. And the best certainty is to have their rights or their privileges or their obligations or their liabilities enshrined in law and therefore clear-cut and certain. Yes, we do have a welcoming mat for the digital technology revolution. We wish to welcome the world because we need a new third pillar of our economy, a digital economy. To do this, we Bahamians must continue to find ways to make it easier for digital technology businesses to find a home in the Bahamas, while at the same time ensuring that Bahamians, most particularly young Bahamians, obtain the same opportunities to invest in the digital economy and obtain the maximum benefit and training that any such non-Bahamian digital businesses will bring to the Bahamas. So it is all about providing a new economy for the new Bahamas and for those who are coming this way, for young Bahamians who are far more tech savvy than you or I will ever be. We grew up watching analog and snow on TV. They grew up with handheld devices, iPads, laptops, HD TV, you name it, 4K, 40K, whatever K. So the world that surrounds the youth of the Bahamas today is vastly different than the world that surrounded us when we were growing up. And it's our job to create an economy that is thoroughly integrated into that world, that gives them the opportunity to get into the driving seat of the new global digital economy. And so, Madam President, despite opposition propaganda, in my view lies at times, the Bahamianization policy is not dead, it is alive, and it is kicking. It is simply finding new expression in business facilitation and business easing policies which are designed to preserve threatened sectors of our existing economy on the one hand, and designed on the other hand, seeking to attract the new digital revolution to the Bahamas, the digital economy. So, Madam President, let us with confidence confront any mischaracterizations, any outright lies, any falsehoods by the opposition. Let us stand for what we believe in, have the courage of our convictions that we're doing the right things and making the right choices to ease detention, to restore confidence, and to build a better and more enduring economy for the benefit of every Bahamian, particularly young Bahamians and workers who may suffer displacement as a result of changes in other economic sectors of our economy, particularly the financial sector. And so, Madam President, I commend the Immigration Amendment Bill to the favorable consideration of the Senate, and I invite a member thereof to second the motion.
Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Fred Mitchell. Is this are you speaking?
I just wanted to raise on a point where I didn't want to interrupt the member because it reflects.
What is the point of order?
The point is reflecting, unfortunate, this question of race.
What is the point of order?
The point is that it is reflecting.
Bill.
Yeah,
Bill.
it's reflecting personally adversely on the members on this side.
We called
We've
it
not
Brent's Bill in the
engaged.
other place.
We want to, first of all, that's the first point. First is we have not said a single word in this place. And therefore to characterize what we're doing as race baiting, I think is rather unfortunate. I call on the member to reflect on that characterization.
I'll reflect on it.
And choose.
I will reflect on
You
it.
should. And choose some other expression.
reflect on it.
Because there's been no race baiting, and I want to make that abundantly clear. There's no race baiting. There's no race involved in this. You came up with a philosophical argument. We will answer the philosophical argument.
Thank you. The chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Dwight Sawyer.
Good morning, Madam President, and good morning, fellow senators. I am happy to once again have the honor to speak, like I'm a Brylander, please, to speak in this honorable place, and to give God thanks and praise for making it possible for me to be here this morning. And to God be the glory.
Amen. Amen.
I rise to second, and I rise very enthusiastically, to second this amendment to the Immigration Bill 2019. But Madam President, before I begin my contribution on this amendment, please allow me a few minutes to touch on a few other things. First of all, Madam President, I join you in your opening comments and wishing all the mothers of the Bahamas yesterday, and to salute them, and to praise them, and to honor them, and to thank them for all the mothers of the Bahamas for a blessed day they had yesterday. I wish and I urge all mothers to bring their children up in a Christian home and to always put God first. But more specifically, Mother, I'm sorry, but more specifically, Madam President, I wish to single out two mothers who are very dear to me. To what? And one is my daughter, and the other is my daughter-in-law. And why I mention them, Madam President, is the fact that they gave birth to two beautiful granddaughters, but unfortunately, both of them, my granddaughters, have the sickle cell disease. And one is 4 years old, and one is 4 years old, and the other one is 12 years old. And I'd like to pay my respects to them and to thank them for the past years how they have taken care of my granddaughters and their daughters, for the care and welfare they have given them. And I urge at this time all other mothers and fathers who have kids with sickle cell to network with them and to see that, and there's many of them kids go to the hospital many times with a lack of medication, and many times when I go up there, you see them, they're in tremendous pain. And I urge all of you to network with them and to make sure that they make their life comfortable as much as practically possible. And so I'd like to give thanks to my daughter Amanda and my daughter-in-law Nadine for the care and encouragement and guidance they've taken with my two granddaughters who are beautiful things. And sometimes it's really heart-wrenching when you see them in their big crisis and the tremendous pain they go through. So once again, I'd like to thank them very much. Madam President, last Friday, May 10th, was the second anniversary of the Free National Movement overwhelming victory in 2017. That's when the Bahamian people rose up and spoke out against the bad governments. The majority of the Bahamians at that time perceived the PLP to be corrupt, dishonest, and non-caring. All right? And that is why they listened to the message given by our leader at that time, who is now the Prime Minister of this great country, the Honorable Hubert Alexander Minnis. And the F&M party, and they saw that message and they believe in that message. And that is why we put a good licking on the PLP at that time, 35 to 4. Madam President, and we started the week off by celebrating, last week, we devoted last week to celebrating our second anniversary. And we started the week off with a church service at Cousin McPhee Church on Carmichael Road, where the pastor, the Reverend Ranford Patterson, gave a most inspiring, uplifting, and motivating speech. Sermon. He took his text from Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah, chapter 3 and 4, where he talked about the walls of Jerusalem being in bad shape, being broken down, badly in need of repair. That's how the government found, that's how we found the government chair. And what he says is that, and Jeremiah, and there were many detractors who were telling Nehemiah, please do not build a wall. But he didn't eat them. He went on and he went ahead to build the wall.
That's right.
And the wall was built. So Reverend Patterson urged all of us at that time, last week, Sunday, to say, stay on the wall.
Stay on the wall.
Do not be discouraged. Stay focused. Told the minister, the Prime Minister, stay on the wall. Told all the cabinet ministers, stay on the wall. Told all the F&Ms, stay on the wall. And the wall we will stay on. Stay on the wall, right? That's why you got to stay on the wall. So, Madam President, this Free National Government, in 2 years, as
Senators, we do have a senator on the floor, and we are getting a little noisy now.
Thank you. Madam President, this Free National Government in 2 years has made this country a better place to live and a safer place to live. The F&M has made many great moves to put the Bahamas on the right wicket. But before I get into some examples of the F&M accomplishments, let me just say, and for the other side opposite, that they're now trying to keep playing the race card at every step they make. And I want to know why. This is wrong and it's destructive. It's downright irresponsible. We see racism showing its ugly head in another country to the north of us, and we all know because of the racial tone its leaders have taken. And is this what we want our Bahamas in 2019? I say no. A vast majority of our voters are under 50 years old. And when the PLP first won the election in 1967, the general elections, they were probably only about 2 or 3 years old. These people really don't know anything about the UBP other than what they were told. The millennials nowadays don't care about that. They all have that international exposure, and they know what the world and how the world works. And they could care less about the UBP. The UBP no longer exists, it's dead. So I want the PLP, please, to stop playing the race card. And of course, they can't do it anymore. I know before, whenever there was an election, they always start playing roots and all those things to get people emotional and whatnot. But those days are gone. So please use a different tactic because you're out there for a little while. today, the young people today and the young millennials are interested in three things, Madam President. They, they're interested in empowerment, employment, and entrepreneurship. The three, I say, young Senator Morse, and I hope that when doing your presentation, you probably make mention of that. How some of the young millennials are making use of these three things. Interested in that.
Yes, sir.
I repeat, empowerment, employment, and entrepreneurship. When the FNM came into government, they met an economy in shambles, a country in economic chaos. Evan experienced 4 downgrades over a 5-year period with a dollar that was in danger of being devalued. We met hundreds of millions of dollars in unpaid bills. We met crime out of hand. We met terrorism fighting to survive. And we met a country needing a good doctor. A good doctor in the person of Dr. Hubert Alexander Minnis. Since May 2017, the FNM has made some tough decisions. And some people got mad about these decisions. But we knew that it was the right thing to do. And we knew it would be benefit for the bombers. You know, sometimes, Madam President, sometimes in order to get well, and as I was growing, in order to get well, sometimes you have to take some bad tasting medicine. But in the end, it is well worth it. Because I know when I was growing up, when I was sick, or when the kids were sick, my mom used to give me castor oil. It was bitter, didn't taste good. But nevertheless, the next day, we were back on our feet again. And so we had to make some tough decisions. And even though some of us were somewhat perturbed by these decisions, nevertheless, those decisions are the best decisions. We have paid off these unpaid bills and remain current with our creditors. We have reduced the deficit. Yes, let me say it again. We have reduced the deficit. We have seen 2.3% growth in our economy for 2018, and it's projected that we will have a 2.1% growth in 2019. This is progress. This is making the Bahamas a better place for everybody. Under this FNM government, we have seen double-digit growth in tourism in 2018 and again for the first quarter in 2019. I hear the other side say this growth is because of Bahama. Say they built Bahama and that the FNM was against Bahama. But let's get one thing straight. The FNM was not against Bahama. The FNM was against the secret, non-transparent way in which the PLP handled the project. The PLP opened Bahama, but this Ministry of Tourism, led by the FNM, is filling the hotel. We're keeping the hotels full. This tourism campaign and the FNM policies are showing double digits in growth in tourism in Nassau and in Paradise Island. Also in Abaco, Eleuthera, and Exuma. And soon, just around the corner, Grand Mama will be taken off again. This is due to the hard work of the Ministry of Tourism, the Honorable Dionisio Diagala, and the team at the Ministry of Tourism. So I'd like to congratulate and commend the team at the Ministry of Tourism. This government is ensuring young people get the right educational foundation to be better and successful Bahamians. The FNM has made it possible for all preschool age kids to get the foundation that will prepare them for primary school and beyond. If the government preschool is full, then this government has made it possible to get you in a private preschool. They have also given out tablets to more than 2,000 primary school students, and in short order, this will be made possible to high school students. This FNM government, Madam President, is giving free tuition to all BTVI full-time students, yes, and all the new ones and also the existing ones. And this FNM government will be giving, come September, free tuition fees to all University of the Bahamas students, providing they qualified and meet the prerequisite requirements. Plus, they get $500 is given to all family island students to help them with their accommodations. This is investing in Bahamian youth. This FNM government It's also, I understand, is hiring a number of young Baymans in senior positions in the accounting field in the Ministry of Finance, starting this summer. Madam President, crime is down in this country. Hear me. I didn't say crime is stopped. I said it's down. Yes, there's plenty of work to be done. One murder, one armed robbery, one fight is one too many. The federal government has put and continue to put things in place to combat crime. The shot spotter, the additional CCTV cameras, better equipment for police officers, and more training for police officers. This government is serious about stamping out crime in this country, including corruption. And there are many, many questions being asked of the former government about their tenure in office. But they want to ask us questions. But they also want us questions, which equates to answering a question with another question. I recently read that there are 21 audits by the Auditor General laid on the table of the Honorable House Assembly, but they refuse to review them. I wonder why. So we got to start there. Madam President, we see a bright future ahead of our country. We see many great initiatives coming. We see global ports coming, and with the redevelopment of the Nassau Harbor Port and the improved port facility, we will see a new and improved city of Nassau. We will soon see, coming to South Eleuthera, Disney, with a greater economic boom for Eleuthera. We will see Carnival going into and coming into Grand Mama, and we will soon see the purchase of our Lucaya and the redevelopment of Port Lucaya. We see developments coming in Arbor Island and Abaco. We see a new airport in Exuma and Long Island. We have seen almost every day roads being repaved in Nassau and repaved in Nassau and repaired in Nassau and across many of the other family islands. And this, Madam President, is what this Free National Movement government has done. So I say, stay on the wall. We have seen no increase in duty for clothes and shoes for clothing stores. We have seen the elimination of VAT on bread basket items, and we see the elimination of VAT on light bill under $300. We have seen good things for Bahamians. We will see a new central bank and a much needed new Supreme Court. Good things, Madam President, are coming, and good things. This country is moving in the right direction, and we can see it and we are starting to feel it. The economy is improving with new projects coming online. The economy is poised for great things, all within 2 years. You gave us 2 years, and we can get 5 years, and we can get it done, and we can get another 5 years after this. So it's another 8 years you are leveled there in the wilderness. Madam President, I now turn my attention briefly to this amendment to the Immigration Bill 2019. and is necessary after the Commercial Enterprise Bill was passed. The amendment is quite clear, and it's very annoying when you hear a side opposite mislead the public by making ridiculous claims that make no sense. And I'd like to commend our leader in the Senate, the Honorable Attorney General, for clarifying many of the misconceptions that people may have out there, and basically elucidating exactly what the amendment to this bill is all about. This government is to bring to the Bahamas a new industry through the tech hubs being given opportunities for young people. And let me just reiterate what the act is all about, the Commercial Enterprise Act. This act targets specialized businesses for small and medium income Bahamian businesses, such as the captive insurances, the nanotechnology, the computer technology, software design, data storage, maritime trade, aviation, registration, and wealth management, to name a few. Bahamians are to get into this new industry, and we are taking advantage of the industries that can work here, and based on what's happening in the United States, we are in the right place at the right time. This can be a great opportunity for our country, and we must take full advantage of it. Like it is said by our young people, it's time to think out of the box. While tourism is growing and the Minister of Agriculture is putting things in place to grow agriculture in this country, we need to embrace new industries, and we must look to bring in new industries that we don't have already exist in the Bahamas, and also to develop these markets. This commercial enterprise bill does that, and the amendment to the immigration bill strengthens that tremendously. So let's be perfectly clear. The no visa for 14 days has some people concerned that anybody can come into this country and just wait. That's a no, no, no. Our minister just repeated that a while ago, and that's a no, no, no. Now, there may be, because those who are coming are basically coming for seminars, trade shows, board meetings, and not for full-time employment. The concern is that these people will take advantage of this no visa policy, should not be of a major concern, because I am quite certain, I have faith in the Minister responsible for immigration to put measures in place to monitor this very closely. I have faith in my fellow Bahamians, some who are PLP, some DNA, and some FNM, who will do their job to secure that this is done right and people do not abuse the policy. When the opposite side criticizes this and say it will be abuse, I feel they are condemning their own and condemning hard-working Bahamians. These are the people who carry out the duties, and they are responsible and capable of doing it. Madam President, the FNM government has made the right moves for this country. And yes, the side opposite has the right to not support and to criticize and to generally keep the government feet to the fire. But they also keep talking about what they were going to do, and they were going to do that. But the FNM government is just building on their foundation. I say, if you are going to do it, you should have done it. You didn't do it, and that's that. It comes the time to stop the games. It comes the time to stop the games and stop being a spoiled brat. There comes the time to be responsible for what we want for our country. Time to know and understand it's about the people. It's not about power. And it's about making sure we have a Bahamas tomorrow, not who will be the Prime Minister tomorrow. Even though our Prime Minister now will be Prime Minister for another 8 years. This Prime Minister is doing a great job. This Prime Minister is working for the people. This Prime Minister is working for both you and me. And on that note, Madam President, I second the amendment to this bill. Thank you very much.
Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Carl Bethel.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, at the close of my contribution, my good friend on the other side, Leader of Opposition Business, invited me to reflect on my comments where I accused the opposition of race baiting, and in particular of referring to something as Brent's bill in that other place. And you know, I took the time to reflect not on my comments, but on his statement that he issued last night. And in that statement, here is what the non-race baiting PLP Senate team issued to the Bahamian public last night. This is part 2 of the dismantlement of the Bahamianization policy actively underway by this FNM, bracket, Minis, and Simonet administration. Now hold a second. The Deputy Prime Minister of the Bahamas is Peter Turnquest. Simonet is merely a minister. Yes, and just as we say the Christie Davis administration, when Perry Christie was Prime Minister and Philip Davis was Deputy Prime Minister, for you to go and call the minister Simonet's name in this way is a deliberate attempt, once again, to point to the remarks that you all made in the other place. This is not the Minis and Simonet administration. It is the Minis administration or the Minis and Turnquest Simonet. The Minis and Turnquest administration. On one other point, just a very quick point, Madam President. I did not wish to interrupt the presentation today, but there is an issue that is in the papers, and I will only say this on this issue of the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights, that I didn't know that a commission was a court, and we will be making a full statement on it because I found some of the statements attributed to some of the commissioners to be offensive to the Bahamas. And therefore, no, we will make a full statement on the matter tomorrow. Thank you.
Why are you surprised?
The chair
In your bosom.
Well, it has been moved and seconded that a bill for an act to amend the Immigration Act to make provision for the BH-1B work visa and the BH-4S permit to provide for work visa exemptions and for connected purposes, as many. Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Jo Beth Colby Davis.
Thank
Excuse
you.
me, senators, we do have a senator on the floor.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, as always, I am grateful to God for granting me this opportunity to stand in this place and contribute to the building of this great country, the Bahamas. Before I begin my contribution, hi, shh, please. Thank you. Before I begin my contribution, I want to use this opportunity, and therefore I would like silence, to wish my closest, hold on, can I speak? Yes, you heckle me when I get to my contribution, but let me make this in silence, thank you. I want to use this opportunity to wish my closest friend, Lanicia Darville, a very happy birthday today. Yes, she's like a sister to me and an auntie gaudy to my daughter, a very ambitious and inspiring young lady who, like myself, I am certain, yeah, your godfather, has much to offer in the building of this great country. I would also join the chorus to wish every mother, every grandmother, godmother, stepmother, aunts, all those who facilitate in helping to raise our children, a very happy Mother's Day, and to myself, a very happy first Mother's Day to me. It was lovely, and it's a joy being a mother. So let me get to my contribution now. I just want to join the leader on this side in the Senate for the opposition in reiterating that our debate today to this immigration bill has absolutely nothing to do about race, but more so about policy. We understand, as the opposition has already, I'm sorry, you may be at opposition in a few years, but as the governing side has already spoken in support of this bill, and their comments were, this is for ease of doing business, and we're not wanting to do the same thing over and over. And what I would contribute towards this bill is the policy of Bahamianization being infringed upon, and that is all. This has nothing to do with race. I stand today, Madam President, to bring contribution to the Immigration Amendment Bill, which the opposition will not support at all. The bill before us today gives me two major concerns, and I will deal with them separately to avoid confusion. First, the part related to the Commercial Enterprise Act. Madam President, I stand here today on the shoulders of the only father of the nation, Sir Lyndon Pinland, and the proud legacy he left behind in the hearts and minds of many, a policy of Bahamianization. And as I address this Senate, I am watching as the Bahamas is slowly being stripped away of that policy with legislation such as the one before us, which is a branch of the already passed horrible Commercial Enterprise Act. The act was one of the first pieces of legislation out of the gate for this administration. And if you listen to the members in the other place as they stood to support and defend the amendments in this immigration bill, nothing that they said in support gives Bahamians the hope of being entrepreneurs, business owners, advancement on jobs, or investors in new industries. Nothing, absolutely nothing said here today by the governing side or in the other place gives that hope. In actuality, Madam President, there is not one pinch of hope in the messages coming from this administration for the Bahamian people. Not one talking about advancement or empowerment. Yeah, the members opposite are going to stand and run on about ease of doing business, but the only thing they are making easy is for foreigners to enjoy free entry into the Bahamas with no restrictions, even to operate in professions that should have sovereignty. Madam President, I heard the members opposite in this place and the other place talk about the benefits of having investors and businesses enter under this immigration amendment bill in relation to the Commercial Enterprise Act for the transfer of knowledge and skills to the Bahamians. And Madam President, I agree with that to an extent. We can agree that foreign investors in some ways form part of the Bahamian history. For many, many years, you will hear the names of those who have brought much to the Bahamas and made an impression. I will not stand here today and insult the contribution of the foreign investors that has helped to build this country. However, I question whether there was a need for this Commercial Enterprise Act or the said amendments to the immigration bill. The Bahamas Investment Authority, if given the power and the resources, could efficiently and effectively manage this process for the country. And if there are apparent inefficiencies in the work permit process at the immigration level, then let us fix it. For instance, delays at immigration may be related to the timing of execution and turnaround time to respond to applications, which could be remedied with more manpower. Surely, Madam President, our answer to fixing the immigration issues cannot be what this FNM government is offering, which is overriding the application review process and allowing free entry. Madam President, these amendments allow companies to bring in their entire executive team and then receive work visas within 14 days. And the argument in support is Bahamians will learn skills when there are apparently no restrictions on how many times one person's work visa can be renewed. Who will monitor that skills are being transferred to Bahamians? Who will keep a record of the amount of Bahamians excelling in these businesses? Actually, who is keeping a record on the present benefits received since the passing of the Commercial Enterprises Act?
Bahamians.
Did we have an influx of companies? Are thousands of Bahamians getting jobs with these companies? Last I heard, one or two companies that this FNM government was bragging about opening offices in Grand Bahamas has shut down and went belly up. This is why we must be realistic in our communications to the Bahamian people. Persons, foreign investors, they will come. They will enter the country with startup capital. They will hire maybe 2 or 3 Bahamians to do the everyday office job. And if business does not perform at a certain level of success in a specific period of time, the decision by the foreign investor will be made to pack up and leave this country, sending Bahamians home and back to the unemployment line with no exponential skill set, no great package deal, and no new ideas, just a little less hope. Madam President, this cannot be the million-dollar idea this administration painted to the Bahamian people. It cannot be the 1 in a million idea that came out of this government, like, as they like to brag, of 35-4. Please tell me, Madam President, that they have yet to pull the rabbit out of the hat. Because if all the FNM can come up with for stimulating growth in the Bahamian economy since coming into power is OBAN and this commercial enterprise bill, then God help us all. Madam President, on the face of it, this appears to be a government who has demonstrated they are willing to respond to the immediate needs of everyone except the Bahamians. And that is unfortunate. I mean, look how fast they are moving with the necessary changes needed to facilitate the legal entry of persons under this Commercial Enterprises Act. Yet, we still have local issues that take a while to be addressed. Inequality amongst women, union striking, VAT and tax cutting our hips left, right, and center. Teachers and nurses fighting over and over for increase. NHI have yet to really make any sort of forward movement since the 2017 elections. But this government find it very important to decrease taxes and duties to benefit the wealthy. They are changing the immigration laws to accommodate the wealthy. They are allowing access to the Bahamas and bypassing immigration. And Madam President, I keep hearing members in the other place talk about this trickle-down effect that can result from this Commercial Enterprises Act. And I say, show me the proof, because proof is always in the pudding. You passed this act in November 2017. So show us the proof of benefit since passing the act. How many businesses signed on and opened in the Bahamas since that act coming into force? How many executive positions does Bahamians hold in these companies? How many work visa permits have been granted following coming into force of that legislation? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being nothing, how much financial gain has the country received from the passing of the Commercial Enterprises Act? Madam President, in my contribution to the Commercial Enterprises Act, I made it clear that no Bahamian in this 21st century Bahamas cares to hear someone degrade their potential and possibility by stating the wealth will have to trickle down, because the origin of the trickle-down economics was actually used as a joke by Will Rogers in a column he wrote in 1932. However, money does not trickle down. Water and crumbs may do so, but certainly not money. Put some money on the ground in this country and watch how fast it trickles up. Before the day is out, it would have already reached back in the hands of many Bahamian businessmen and women. The 32A exemption. Madam President, before I end, I wish to speak briefly on the 32A exemption that states no person is required to obtain a work visa or short-time visa if that person enters the Bahamas for the purpose of engaging in any activity listed in subsection 2 for a period not exceeding 14 days. And the activity is only activity in which that person is so engaged. The activities referred to in subsection 1, attending a conference or seminar as a participant, excluding the organizers of such conference or seminar, attending a trade show or summit, excluding the organizers, working as a non-executive director, and then there's a list of persons that's allowed to attend business meetings with a local company in the capacity of chairman, director, shareholder, chief executive officer, chief operating officer, chief financial officer, consultant, legal counsel, compliance officer, accountant, auditor, actuary, medical professional, controller, analyst, or manager. Madam President, I have a major concern with the sovereign protection of our professions, specifically legal, accountants, and medical professions. While I understand the ease of doing business concept and the need to remove some of the unnecessary hassles that are imposed because of the requirement for work permits, even in situations where there's just a need to enter for meetings, seminars, etc., as relates to the current process, in some instances, this amendment is just putting in black and white in the law what it may have already have been the practice. However, Madam President, Section 32A is just too wide, and it goes beyond what is expected by some professions to be exclusive for citizens, permanent residents, or legitimate work permit holders. For instance, the Public Accountants Act, Section 13(1). The council says the council shall, upon application in writing and payment of the prescribed fee, issue a license to engage in public practice to any person being a citizen of the Bahamas or a permanent resident. Then Section 13 goes further to allow persons who are not citizens to receive the license based on certain requirements, including the need to be in possession of a valid work permit. The young professionals are very concerned that this amendment now before us is about to open the floodgates. Madam President, while the draftmen must have intended to assist the government with their ease of doing business policy, it appears that this Section 32 is leaning on the side of ease of free movement of people. And I am of the belief that this might be some WTO policy that we are seeing being implemented as this government continuously prepared the Bahamas for accession, despite the recent Oxford report showing Bahamians the skill gap in our country. Instead of there being a subtle plan to close the gap, this government is removing all the barriers for entry by professionals, which will further lead to widening the skills gap and making competition amongst professionals even more difficult. Further, Madam President, Section 32A provides no sort of guidance or criteria for determining whether or not a person is exempt or restricted from this work permit entry fee. Look at the act. Nothing, no sort of guidance. Neither does the bill impose any limitations on the frequency of travel. So, for instance, it is easy for persons to abuse the system because they can now employ their professions from anywhere in the world and have them come in and enter the country 2 weeks in every month as a consultant if they wish, or for a business meeting, when in actuality they are fully employed with the company. Madam President, in an effort to promote the ease of doing business, the government must also balance protecting our borders. Which is their priority? Ease of doing business or protecting our borders? Because, Madam President, there are no criteria for immigration officers to manage this process at the port of entry. Anyone can land and say, here for a business meeting with this particular company. No need to show proof of meeting, no prior communication required from the company to advise of entry. How are we going to protect our borders? We saw just 2 weeks ago that one of the principals in this marina project has a previous conviction of drug possession. Prior to that, we had principals of OBAN with previous fraudulent convictions. So, Madam President, this F&M government has had some issues since coming to office with properly vetting the foreign investors. It seems like they just jump in on any bandwagon to say, hey, Bahamian people, we have some movement in the economy. But, Madam President, I have absolutely no confidence in this F&M government because it is evident that even when investigations have been completed, there have been areas of foreign investors' past life that were missed until after they were granted entry and access to carry out business in the Bahamas. Madam President, I am very concerned about the future for our professionals and the protection of our borders if this amendment is passed with no restrictions or any criteria. In well-drafted, tighter legislation, persons find loopholes. So imagine now, there are probably many companies just sitting and waiting for this amendment to pass, just so they can avoid making any future payments to the Treasury for short-term or long-term work permits. Because from now on, everyone will be entering to attend meetings. The government should rethink this amendment and try to tighten up what is allowed or remove some professions from the list to avoid any further dishonest entry and influx of foreign workers, placing a greater disadvantage on Bahamians. As I end, Madam President, what we should see coming from our leaders is the true Bahamianization policy, the Bahamian dream. While investors are very much so important and played a role in the growth of this economy, this new generation of millennials wants a paradigm shift. where we become the new investors, going all over the world and bringing innovation, technology, new industry, sustainable development to the Bahamian economy. Leaders must stop taking the easy road and just seeking investors and switch the focus from granting so much benefits to foreign investors who have no allegiance to the Bahamas, but turn the focus to the professional Bahamians. Educating our people and investing in their growth is what the new Bahamas should be doing. Young professionals want to make their own mark in building this society. How about we start creating opportunities for young Bahamians to rub shoulders with industry stakeholders across the world, and with the opportunity to bring back new ventures to our shores. The Bahamians bring it back, not some foreigner. Madam President, this F&M government cannot be so gung-ho on getting any sort of investors here or there and having the headline news of this HOA signing and that MOU signing, selling our assets. However, they must focus on bringing quality investors and projects that will have longevity in the Bahamas. But above all, Madam President, this government must ensure they protect the sovereignty of the young Bahamian professional. And in every discussion and decision, Bahamians must be the head and not the tail. I will end how I began. The opposition outrightly rejects this piece of legislation. And I hope it is agreed across the board within the greatest party, the Progressive Liberal Party, that once we deliver the Bahamian people out of the hands of this rich man-loving, accommodating all foreign needs F&M government, we will repeal this legislation and other legislation that infringe upon the Bahamianization policy. And
As many, Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Jenny
19 balls in 2000.
Isaacs Dotson.
What? Really? That's a lie. Madam President, honorable senators, good morning. It is indeed a pleasure to stand in this honorable place and to know that it's been 2 years since the Honorable Prime Minister thought it that I be appointed in this position, which is indeed an honor and a privilege, and one which I take very seriously. I again thank the most honorable Prime Minister for this appointment, which, as I said, it's good to be in this place at this time and for this reason. Madam President, I wish all mothers a happy Mother's Day and hope that they enjoy time with family and friends yesterday. I speak a special blessing on all mothers, as they are the glue, the bedrock, and the very fabric of our Bahamian society. I salute all Bahamian mothers and pray for them to continue to guide, counsel, protect, teach, mentor, especially the young in our society. We must do a better job of raising our young children from birth and teach them basic manners, respect, morals. Take them to a church of your choice, enroll them in a civic organization like Girls or Boys Brigade, Girls or Boy Scouts of Honor, which are just a few examples of organizations that help in raising children. However, most importantly, we must teach and instill in our young children, Madam President, an appreciation and respect for human life and dignity. Let us remember to teach them that the Bahamas is our country, and we must ensure that our children grow up to become productive citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. Madam President, I also wish to extend congratulations to the new Commissioner of the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, Commissioner Charles Murphy. His long and honorable service at the Correction Center speaks for itself. Madam President, I stand today to speak to the Immigration Amendment Bill 2019. And this bill seeks to amend the Immigration Act, Chapter 191, to make provision for the BH-1B work visa and the BH-4S permit, and to provide for work visa exemptions. These amendments are also being made to facilitate the requirements of the Commercial Enterprises Act, which was passed in this Honorable Senate, unanimously as far as I could recall. Most Bahamians, and in particular the general public, do not like to speak to immigration issues. Madam President, you will recall that the Commercial Enterprises Act was designed to remove the bureaucracy and red tape that investors encounter when attempting to obtain work permits from the Immigration Department for key management and skilled workers. The Commercial Enterprises Act allows senior foreign management and key personnel to enter the Bahamas and establish a physical business in targeted, scheduled industries without possessing a work permit. This is a true sign of the government commitment to building a better economy, a strong Grand Bahama, and a sign that this government is truly committed to improving the ease of doing business. I still support the notion that an honest examination of the Commercial Enterprises Act will cause you to recognize that it truly does introduce certainty and predictability to the work permit regime. Central to this act, and the most discussed aspect, is the authority of the Director of Immigration to make a decision on the approval of work permits within 14 days of the receipt of the application. Once the same has been submitted, 30 days of the worker's arrival in the Bahamas. In fact, the bill mandates the Director of Immigration to make a decision on approving the same within 14 days of receiving the said application, and should the Director of Immigration not respond within the 14-day time frame, the work permit is automatically deemed to have been granted. The fact is, Madam President, the unacceptable delay in the issuance of work permits has had a negative impact on doing business in the Bahamas and ultimately our economy. Further, Madam President, Clause 2 of the bill seeks to amend Section 2 of the Immigration Act to provide for the addition of new definitions in this act. The major definitions are the ones that speak to the meaning of the new visas and permit, namely the BH-1B work visa, the short-term visa, and the BH-4S permit. I will speak first to the BH-1B visas. The BH-1 work visa is defined as a work visa biometric card in accordance with Section 30B to a person who has permission to engage in gainful occupation in the Bahamas pursuant to the grant of a specified commercial enterprise certificate issued under the Commercial Enterprises Act. Section 30 of the Principal Act speaks to permission to reside or engage in gainful employment. Madam President, these changes present an opportunity for Grand Bahama and the entire Bahamas, just as the United States does now and will be limiting. This U.S. visa likewise enables the hiring of specialist foreign workers by American businesses and the entry of persons with advanced degrees. Madam President, it is no secret that these type of workers are in high demand among technology companies. And with this recent USA move to limit these type of visas, we can benefit from these, as these businesses may now have to relocate H-1B staff or even find a new and suitable business location themselves. Madam President, Section 3 of this Immigration Amendment Bill says that the BH-1B visa is issued after the application to the Director of Immigration along with the prescribed fee. They must also have secured a commercial enterprise certificate or be a professional pursuant to Section 7.3 of the Commercial Enterprise Act, or hold a post pursuant to Section 2 of the Commercial Enterprises Act. What is important to mention in this section and to reiterate in subsection 5 and 6 of Section 3 states that the Director of Immigration may revoke the grant of a BH-1B visa, work visa, if the Director of Immigration has reasonable grounds for doing so on the basis of public safety, public morality, and national security. And that a BH-1B work visa is valid for a period of 3 years and may, subject to the discretion of the Director of Immigration, be renewed for a further period not exceeding 3 years. The short-term work visa is defined as a work visa biometric card, i.e. digitized fingerprints, machine-readable facial images, machine-readable biographical data, and digital signatures, issued in accordance with prescribed regulations to a person who desires to remain in the Bahamas for periods of 3 months or less for the purpose of engaging in gainful occupation. We all in this honorable place know of several examples of professionals and wealthy investors being turned around at our borders, so I don't need to repeat those episodes. Madam Chair, the amendment to Section 32 of the Immigration Act addresses the variation of conditions of permit. It also speaks to, via Section 4, the exemption of these short-term visas if that person enters the Bahamas for the purpose of engaging in any activity listed in subsection 2 of Section 4 for a period not exceeding 14 days, and the activity is the only activity in which that person is so engaged. As already noted, these persons are not coming to stay in the Bahamas and engage in gainful employment. For example, they're just coming in for a meeting and leaving, Madam Chair. We have all heard the issues with this immigration amendment bill, such as the 14-day stay, deleting the name of the list that has consultants in it, the lack of consultation, which is very important, so that all stakeholders should have had the opportunity to dialogue regarding the same and, of course, express their main concerns about the bill, which we know is that persons will engage in gainful employment. However, this will require where all of us as Bahamians must police this amendment and report any infractions to the Immigration Department. It requires the same principle that we all take the same responsibility and ownership of things that happen, report it, document it, and not just talk about it. I know that the authorities will ensure that the intent of this amendment is realized, that no professional in the Bahamas will be negatively affected, but instead positively affected. No jobs will be taken away. Immigration officers will be expected to carefully examine passports, Madam Chair, electronically and manually, and ensure that all is in order. This is not a fundamental change to the policy, but a codification of this policy, making it easier for the potential investor. The BH-4S permit, Madam Chair, is described as a permit biometric card granted in accordance with Section 30C to a person who is the spouse or dependent child of the holder of a BH-1B work visa, and which permits such person to reside in the Bahamas or enroll in educational institutions in the Bahamas for the duration of the permit. This will, of course, increase the enrollment at UB and their financial capacity in tuition and fees. The second half of the bill, Section 3, Madam Chair, speaks to, among other things, the approval and granting of this permit by the Director of Immigration. What is vital and made very clear in this bill is that the granting of a BH-4S permit does not permit the holder to engage in gainful occupation in the Bahamas. Additionally, no spouse or child dependent is allowed or able to work. If we look at sometimes the landing card when we come into the Bahamas, we will see that there are certain things on those cards. And even when we travel throughout the Caribbean, you will notice that they ask you if you're coming to attend a meeting or if you're coming to a business or those things on the landing cards already. As a matter of fact, when you go throughout Europe, they don't even stamp your passport. As a matter of fact, when you go into Switzerland, they don't stamp your passport. I've been to Switzerland 3 times and I don't have a stamp in my passport saying Switzerland yet. They just look at your passport and they give you permission to enter. It is well known, it's been said so many times, that this bill is important for the progress and economic recovery of Grand Bahama as it moves closer to becoming an international technological center and hub for the Bahamas and the region. Further, this bill, as it relates to the development of Grand Bahama, Madam Chair, as an international technology center and hub, will manifest $430 million in income, resulting in $16.5 million in NIB contributions and about $24 million in VAT. This bill will create secondary jobs, create businesses, and provide educational opportunities, which are invaluable. This bill will give Grand Bahama the revival that it needs to rise again to its prominence. I am sure they are looking forward to the same. Madam President, Madam Chair, in conclusion, let's not forget that Bahamians don't want to suffer the 4 downgrades that the country's experienced again, the lack of growth in our economy, when crime was out of control and when trust was non-existent. Further, Madam Chair, I see a future where Bahamians will control and own this technology sector. I have that kind of faith in our young and aspiring entrepreneurial Bahamians. We will own this new technology sector as hundreds and even thousands will flock and move to Grand Bahama. This bill, Madam Chair, will bring us closer to that reality. Additionally, this bill points to another optimistic turn for this government in bringing about great changes in the lives of all Bahamians. The Commercial Enterprises Act, Madam Chair, and this bill proves that the government are making the right steps to empower Grand Bahamians and all Bahamians. This immigration amendment bill is important for Grand Bahama and the Bahamas as we re-energize Grand Bahama, revolutionize and modernize our immigration regime. We will experience great dividends, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Mr. Manning, Chair recognizes Senator Hanfield.
Madam Chair, Honorable Senators, fellow Bahamians, good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock. I'm forever grateful, Madam Chair, to the Almighty Father for his blessings, forgiveness, and plans he has for me. I'm also grateful for the countless opportunities he affords me and the ability to think for myself. Again, my gratitude to the Most Honorable Prime Minister Minnis. Once more, I publicly say that as a leader, I am sure and certain that he has the best interests of the Bahamian people at heart. And I publicly reiterate my support for his vision. Again, I thank him for the privilege to stand in the Parliament of the Bahamas one more, or if it be the consequence of my position on this bill, one last time to stand up and speak up. Last week, Madam Chair, the AG reminded a few of us of the origin of the word parliament, the Anglo-Norman French word parler, which means to speak, to talk. I have come one more time to stand up and speak up as a consultative senator. As I have shared before in the Senate, I'm a firm believer that, as one writer once said, God elevates us as public figures or makes us successful in our careers because he trusts we will do what he needs us to do when the time he orchestrates arrives. Without a doubt, mankind disappoints God often as the time presents itself, and many of us remain silent, knowing full well that we should speak up or say something. Madam Chair, today is a good day as any to parley, and to parley on a provocative national issue that some say will cement the public's perception on the legislative branch, but also the legacy of an administration. I parley today to you in relation to the Immigration Amendment Bill of 2019, which is now before the Senate. After being delayed just 2 weeks ago, during which time I had hoped through my consultative positioning the bill would have been issued for further consultation to all stakeholders, or the Senate would have been able to amend the same to take into consideration the reservations and or recommendations expressed privately and publicly. I pause here to let the record reflect that it is nothing new for the electorate to view the Senate as nothing more than a rubber stamp chamber. My fear is that in 2019, the electorate and media may view the entire legislative branch as they see the Senate. Madam President, Madam Chair, I look around the Senate today as I do every time I come here, and I see brilliant minds with viewpoints, as I've said before, worth expressing on the national stage, who've been elevated by God to speak up and to stand up for which they believe or have strong convictions on. The passage of this bill, I believe, may prick the conscience of many. Today, we need a special kind of courage. Not the kind needed in battle, but a kind which makes us stand up for everything we know is right. A quote from Her Majesty. Madam President, I believe that we must attempt, at the least, to address this perception of the rubber stamp chamber and ensure that the piece of legislation, or the best piece of legislation for the Bahamas and our people, is what passes through this chamber under our watch. Former Prime Minister Hubert Ingraham told parliamentarians once, never pass a piece of legislation that you cannot live with when you are no longer in office. May I go on record in reminding all of us that this is the chamber in Parliament that is supposed to scrutinize pieces of legislation initiated by the executive, tabled in the House, and passed in the lower house, and sent up those red stairs to this chamber for us to have a second look, for a second look to be taken to ensure that Parliament gets it right. I honestly thought that's why the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition appointed each and every one of us to this chamber, to make sure the legislative branch got it right. It necessitates, Madam Chair, that we dissect the bill, research the national issue before us, have in regard its ramifications for our government bodies and our people, offer amendments as is needed, reject if we must, and pass if we are satisfied that it is the best bill, not in the time frame forced upon us, but the best bill to receive the stamp of approval from this legislative branch. Madam President, I suspect that the immigration amendments would aid in the international community's perception of how easy it is to do business in the Bahamas. But at what cost to this administration's legacy, I ask? You see, public perception is reality. If Senator Kwesi Thompson says to me, I need this BH-1B visa and the BH-4S visa to take Grand Bahama where it needs to be as a tech hub, I would fully support the amendment because, like the Prime Minister, I know he is an honorable man that has the interests of not only the people of Grand Bahama at heart, but the entire Bahamas. Unfortunately, the public's perception, as I said before, is that we, the Parliament of the day, have already opened the door for foreigners to come to this country and work via the Commercial Enterprise Act, with a work permit deemed as granted after 14 days. While I see the value in facilitating new industries, which will be forced to train Bahamians for these new fields, the public's perception is their reality. Madam President, as a practicing attorney and the founder of the Junior Bar Committee of the Bahamas Bar Association, pray tell how I, or any practicing attorney, for that matter, in clear conscience could remain silent when an amendment is before Parliament to permit foreign attorneys to work in the capacity of an attorney under the guise of a business meeting for 14-day intervals as often as he or she desires. Please, don't say to me that if the professional is coming too often, that the immigration officer at the port of entry can refuse his entry. If the Act of Parliament says foreign professional X can come for 14 days without any stipulation on the amount of times he can come, How can the immigration officer at our border tell professional X he's coming too often? He hath not the discretion to refuse entry on that ground. With that said, Madam President, I turn to the section of the Immigration Amendment Bill 2019 that gives me pause, and which has consumed the better part of the last couple of weeks for me. I am but a consultative senator. I used to sit on that side of the room back in 2017, and I was told to sit on this side of the room. But at the very least, I'm still allowed to stand up and speak up. And for that, I am grateful. Never, never. You know, regardless of what I may say today, Madam President, I don't want the public to believe for one single second that the PLP is an alternative in 2022 or in 2027. That ship has sank. The only saving grace the PLP will have come 2027 would be Senator Darville and Alfred Sayers as the leadership. But presently, the blind is leading the blind. If I may return, Madam President, if I may return, without being hassled by the PLP. That's the only saving grace, is if the leadership of the PLP is with Senator Darville and Alfred Sayers. But for that, that ship has sank. So, Madam President, the administration, this Minister administration, has done so well on so many fronts in changing the mindset. It has removed VAT on bread basket items, medication, and light bills under $300. It has made BTVI tuition-free for Bahamians as of September 2018, and come September 2019, it will make tuition at the University of Bahamas tuition-free for Bahamians, and a living allowance for Family Island students in the amount of $500 per month for them to pay their rent. That's changing the mindset of our people. It's educating our people so they are empowered. This administration has also provided service lots for under $30,000 to Bahamians. Again, that's empowering Bahamians. So anytime I hear anyone speak of this administration not seeking to empower Bahamians, you know, I'm reminded of the things that have been done. It has overseen historic increase in tourist arrivals throughout this country, not only in New Providence. It has launched the Over the Hill Community Initiative to assist and support residents in impoverished communities, and has eliminated duty on clothing for businesses. The Prime Minister announced just a week or two ago that after June of this year, the government intends to make Crown grants available to Bahamians starting in the southern islands of the Bahamas. Again, I see an administration that's on the path to empowering our people. And as certain as I am that the sky is blue, this administration will move in short order to introduce local government in New Providence to deepen democracy and empower our citizenry to participate in the decision-making process. Madam President, let me be clear. I have no issue with the BH-1B visa or the BH-4S visa. Subsection 1 of the proposed subsection 2 is my concern, which I believe we can cure. And I believe it's easier to prevent legislative glitches than to come back and amend, repeal, or replace. Again, I say today, we need a special kind of courage, not the kind needed in battle, but a kind which makes us stand up for everything we know is right. Madam President, section 1 of the intended section 32A reads, no person is required to obtain a work visa or short-term work visa if that person enters the Bahamas for the purpose of engaging in any activity listed in subsection 2 for a period not exceeding 14 days, and the activity is the only activity in which that person is so engaged. Madam President, I believe we need only to, 1, include provided they are not engaged in gainful employment by a Bahamian company or being compensated by a Bahamian company. 2, reduce the amount of days from 14 to 3 business days. And 3, expressly state that this can only be used twice per year. Now, to put my contributions and those proposed amendments into context, let's go back to the first time Parliament and the nation heard of this Trusted Traveler program, a policy that we are now seeking to entrench in law. Just about a year ago, Madam President, a member in that other place delivered his contributions to the budget debate and expressed the government's intent on this issue, and I quote from page 30 of those contributions. My ministry remains committed to keeping up to date with global trends and ensuring that the Bahamas remains a great place for all to do business. In keeping with the government's commitment to incorporate new mechanisms to address the ease of doing business in the Bahamas, my ministry has introduced the Trusted Traveler Program. The new Trusted Traveler Program allows persons to visit the Bahamas for a period under 14 days without requiring a work permit, provided they are not engaging in gainful employment. Madam President, clearly the intent, as communicated to the nation almost a year ago, was to, one, firstly provide for professional persons to be here no more than 14 days in the capacity as a professional. So we can expect as a people to see foreigners fly into this country with briefcases and suit bags, leave their hotel room dressed for work every day, walk out onto Bay Street for lunch, and walk back to a business establishment in their business suits. Secondly, provided they are not engaging in any gainful employment, which is work. So we let them in dressed for work, to do work, but say they aren't here to make money from that work. As a 16-year call member of the Bahamas Bar Association, called to the bar and trained by one who is now a Queen's Counsel and even as a consultative senator, that drafting boggles this legal mind. Flowing from that, I have the following concerns, Madam President, or points. Firstly, in law, 14 days is in 2 weeks. It's 1 day shy of 3 full business weeks. It's 14 business days to be exact, Madam President. And there are no limits in this amendment to how many 3 business week periods these professionals are allowed to practice their profession in our little country where we already have such professionals. You see, this isn't relevant to the Commercial Enterprise Act. The BH-1, the BH-4 visas are. These professionals aren't here to establish a new industry. They are here for a profession that already exists. Secondly, the bill before us is missing the crucial line that reads, provided they are not engaging in any gainful employment. So someone that holds themselves out to be a foreign lawyer or a non-executive director and in the Bahamas for almost 3 weeks while not on vacation is clearly, to my mind, engaging in gainful employment. No VAT being paid on their professional services as I pay as an attorney, and no INIB contributions, because we are to believe that they aren't working in their professional capacity for 3 weeks for any compensation. Madam President, again I say, today we need a special kind of courage. Not the kind needed in battle, but a kind which makes us stand up for everything we know is right. Madam President, let me be clear, I have no issue with the BH-1B visa or the BH-4S visa. I believe several parts of Section 32A ought not be tied to these obviously necessary visas. I have no issue with the persons attending conferences, summits, and trade shows, not requiring work permits. That's a no-brainer. These conference attendees will travel to the Bahamas in significant numbers to put heads in beds, money in the hands of taxi drivers, and in the pockets of waitresses. In short, they will bring money into our economy. They aren't taking money out of our economy. What I find concerning is that we are to believe that they need to be given almost three full business weeks to attend a trade show, summit, or conference that usually lasts no more than 3 to 5 days. When I travel for parliamentary or civil society conferences through this hemisphere, all that is required of me and the other attendees to these conferences is an invitation letter, which has been verified by the Ministry of Immigration and the Protocol Department in the Ministry of Tourism or the Prime Minister's office in that country. I say we can achieve the expressed objective with such policy implementation and proper training. If any immigration officer refuses to comply with the policy and the training, I say we remove them. There's an island called Ragged Island, transfer them to Ragged Island. Madam President, I'm also concerned with the wording of Section 32A, subsection 2C, which says, working as a non-executive director, working as a non-executive director, working as a non-executive director of a business being carried on in the Bahamas where such person is not involved in the day-to-day operations in the Bahamas, but is visiting in his capacity as a non-executive director. A non-executive director has been addressed by Deloitte in their 2015 and 2016 executive pay publication. A non-executive director could expect average fees of £43,000 to £83,000 a year. The amendment clearly says working as the non-executive director of a Bahamian business being carried on in the Bahamas. I say no more. Again, I say, today we need a special kind of coverage. Now, for those persons listening to me today, don't assume, as I said earlier, for 1 second the PLP is an alternative. When I leave in 2022, Senator Mitchell will be leaving too. When I leave in 2022, Senator Mitchell will be leaving too, retiring from Parliament. Madam President, returning to the proposed Section 32A, I read with concern the list of professionals we would be voting to allow in the country for 3 business weeks each month, if they so desire. The consultant, which is vague, what credentials does one produce for the immigration officer at the airport to verify that that individual is a consultant? Everyone knows, especially the PLP, that consultants get paid. Nobody has specialized in retaining consultants like the PLP. So when I see Section 32A, Section D7 speak to consultants being allowed in for almost 3 weeks without permitting or without securing a work permit or visa, I know consultants get paid. Legal counsel. We have over 1,200 here, Madam President. Extremely competent. Nobody needs to fly in a foreign attorney for 3 weeks for a business meeting when the business and the contracts are subject to Bahamian law. If the Bahamian lawyer needs international input, what we do is we simply write to an international law firm and ask for an opinion. Compliance officers, we have many. Accountants, we have many. Medical professional, I don't see where this expressly excludes doctors. The last time I checked, a doctor was a medical professional. Managers blatantly come into work. So, Madam President, I also read with much disappointment the press release of the president of the Bahamas Bar Association a few days ago, who stated that the Bar Association was not consulted. And you know I am an advocate for consultation. It ensures issues like this don't arise. At the very least, it ensures a level of respect is given to the bodies and professions that may be impacted. I'm coming to a close, Madam President. Permit me to share 2 immigration enforcement concerns which I believe demonstrate the enforceability concern I, along with many others, have. A few weeks ago, right here in the Bahamas on ZNS, a Jamaican national was convicted of practicing dentistry in the Bahamas without being a medical professional. Some immigration officer most likely stamped this person's travel documents when they arrived in the Bahamas and made it clear to them, you're not here to work. You're visiting for a certain period of time. But yet immigration was unable to enforce that. And we ended up with an immigration national arraigned before our courts after carrying on a whole dentistry business in this country. Second scenario, just 2 weeks past, Madam President, I'm passing the House of Assembly, and a gentleman stops me and says, he needs me to assist a young lady he knows in obtaining her permanent residency status. I reminded my family and friends that the PM told each of us, if you pull any strings, ask anybody for favors or to pull any strings, you gone, and the person who pulled the string, they gone too. And I like that viewpoint and position the Prime Minister has. I fully support that. But this non-professional Bahamian, who will remain nameless for now, had been paying $1,000 per year for the last decade for a general worker's permit, but practicing as an attorney here in the Bahamas. immigration can't enforce that. You see, because this person is practicing in the area of mortgages and conveyances. So you won't see that person in court. You won't see that person walking on Bay Street. That person is hiding in an office practicing in the area of mortgages and conveyances. So I share these incidences, Madam President, to point out that the Department of Immigration has been put in a position in so many scenarios and occasions where they simply cannot enforce the laws efficiently and effectively. I fear we'll be adding to that dilemma with the proposed Section 32A in its current form. A couple weeks ago, Madam President, Senator Turner Darius shared that while we were in South America to a parliamentary conference, that several persons from around the region indicated to us how they watch our debates, follow our debates. Several countries, several speakers and presidents and members of parliament. And as I speak, I'm advised that today's debate is being watched via social media streams and ZNS by several Canadian parliamentarians, U.S. government officials, and the speakers of the House in St. Lucia, Trinidad, Barbados, Grenada, and Dominica. And they are watching us, expecting us to get it right, hoping to see what this legislative branch does today. Again, Madam President, I say today we need a special kind of courage, not the kind needed in battle, but a kind which makes us stand up for everything we know is right. As I take my seat, Madam President, as a matter of principle and convictions, I cannot support the new insertion of Section 32A in its current form. I support the Prime Minister and all that he has expressed as his intent and vision for this country. May God continue to bless our Prime Minister with wise counsel, and may he continue to bless the peoples of the Bahamas.
Thank you, Senator. As many? Excuse me. Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Johnny Ann Dorset.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I rise today in support of this immigration amendment bill before us. Having gone through it and seeking some clarification, I consider it to be a rather straightforward piece of legislation. And Madam President, we're here today as we on this side mark the second anniversary of this administration led by the Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis. And I join my colleagues and others who have congratulated this administration on a job well done. I will say that I am extremely proud of this administration, for we have worked assiduously, Madam President, in the interests of the Bahamian people, not just for their interests today and their immediate needs, but for their well-being into the future. There are those who say that we have been patting ourselves on the back, and I take it that they don't agree that with the claims we've made as to what we have achieved for the people. And they took great exception to some of what we've said. Madam President, that did not disappoint me. I expected that from the opposition. And in fact, in their place, I probably would have done pretty much the same thing. What does disappoint me, however, is the hypocrisy they displayed in the process.
I thought you were my friend.
I've seen a lot of things on social media. I've seen some things coming directly from those opposite. And it made me think, sometimes you have to go back. And one of the things that I saw, and it made me kind of say, are you serious? Was a particular member of the opposition in Freeport just recently.
Who that was?
A friend of mine, someone who I would expect better from, who was in Freeport pointing out the deterioration in Freeport and how bad the city looked.
Yes, that's
And they looked at, I think it was what do they call it? The International Bazaar particularly. And yeah, and so you have to ask yourself, did this just start in 2017? And the answer is a resounding no.
You stick to your story.
Freeport has been on the decline for a number of years.
Stick to your story.
Under the PLP administration, it continued to decline, and the PLP allowed the rot to deepen in Freeport. They did nothing to help.
No?
At least this FNM government is trying to put Freeport back on its feet.
Yeah, see.
They are conducting initiatives
They?
that would help this government, my government, that would help to make Freeport, would take it back to the exciting and vibrant and pace-setting city that it used to be once upon a time. A city that was so promising, Madam Speaker, that it was able to absorb a lot of the unemployment that from other islands of the Bahamas. You know, they used to say that when people went there, they did not want to come back. I know my daughter went to Freeport when the decline had started, and I used to visit her there. And in many ways, I could see why people did not want to come back once they got there. It was really a pretty nice place to live, and I'm hoping that with what this government is doing, Freeport is able to come back to its former glory. Madam President, I would hold our record over the past 2 years up against any of the PLP's administration's record for their first 2 years. And as far as the former administration, I'd hold it up against their record over 5 years. And I still think we would come out ahead. And that is what I mean when I say they're practicing hypocrisy. They say that we have not met our projections for reducing the deficit. And the numbers are there. The numbers don't lie. No, we have not met our projections. But at least we are trying, Madam President. And that is more than I can say for the previous administration. And they totally discounted and are continuing to discount the hundreds of millions of dollars in bills that were left by them that this administration had to clear up and are still working to clear up. And they discount all of the funds that are unaccounted for in so many of our ministries and departments.
Sounded good. Keep it going.
This government, Madam President, has embarked on a program of prudent fiscal management, which has resulted in improved economic growth and a good standing in the international community for this country. We can look just at the work we've done to avoid being downgraded, and it is paying off. And Madam President, this is what every well-meaning Bahamian, particularly those who purport to be leaders in this country, should want to see happen. Those opposite were not able to achieve this, although I'm sure they would have wanted to. Yet they criticize us when we make efforts and make moves to try to achieve it, and when we're successful in some of in what we're trying to do. And that is what I mean when I say they're practicing hypocrisy. And Madam, I could go further, but you've gone back in your propaganda. The opposite have gone back. They've gone back to the UBP. I won't go back there because I don't think they would want us to go back there. There's some things that happened since the UBP that are utterly disgraceful that happened under their watch. But no, since the UBP. Under the watch of the PLP. You talk about Bahamianization, and immediately I think, where was Bahamianization when Bahamians could not set foot on Normandy? So let's not go back.
Which Bahamians couldn't set foot on that? In your sense,
And Madam Speaker, true to form, they criticized this immigration amendment bill, which seeks to codify a practice that has been existing in some form or another for a very long time. It's in the dictionary. I beg to differ, but...
Senator, don't be distracted. These are the... Yeah, please finish.
Madam President. Madam President, we in the Bahamas, we are a tourist economy, and we depend on visitors coming to our country. Tourism is our #1 industry, and we have spent over time a lot of money trying to attract certain kinds of businesses. We've been trying to attract convention business. We've been trying to attract seminars and business meetings and that kind of thing, because we want people to come here and to spend their money. We've had a very loose policy regarding this. And sometimes, as you've heard the Attorney General explain, these things went very smoothly. Sometimes they didn't. And sometimes the results, there were glitches that resulted in embarrassment for us and lost business. What this government is doing by this bill is seeking to provide a legal framework to fully implement the Commercial Enterprises Bill and to ensure that provisions are made for persons coming into the Bahamas to engage in activities that are set out in Section 4 of the bill, and to ensure that those provisions are clear and unambiguous so that they avoid misunderstanding as to what are the requirements for entering these countries, who is allowed, and what they are allowed to do when they come here. I've heard some say that the legislation is not necessary, as people are allowed to come in anyway for those same purposes. But that is the difference, Madam Speaker, between the FNM and the PLP. We don't allow things to just go on because that is the way they've always been happening. We believe in law and order and consistency, and we believe that such things as entry into our country should be grounded in law. So whenever we can, we undergrade practice with legislation or policy to ensure consistency, avoid ambiguity or misunderstanding. I've heard the noise in the market about allowing foreigners to come into a country and work while Bahamians do not have jobs. And I've heard Senator Hensfield's concern, some of which I shared until I got a better understanding of why this legislation was brought. Madam Speaker, the bill does not talk about people coming in without work permits to work. It clearly speaks to persons entering the country to attend conferences, seminars, trade shows, and the like, as stated in Section 4. And, Madam Speaker, these are the kinds of activities that Bahamian professionals often go to other countries to participate in. I myself have participated in these types of activities in a number of different countries, and I don't recall ever having had to procure a work permit. I simply, they ask why you're coming, and I say, well, I'm here for such and such a meeting or such and such a seminar, and I've never been denied, I've never been hassled or harassed. I was allowed to go in and do what I had to do. I have friends who work particularly in the offshore sectors who travel frequently, to Switzerland, the UK, South America, all over the world for meetings and seminars. And they are allowed, as I was allowed, to enter the various countries for short periods without having to get work permits. Madam Speaker, Madam President, I know that there is always room for abuse, and people will find loopholes, and sometimes it will not go the way that we intended to go. But I believe that for any lawyer or doctor to come in and sit in an office and do conveyancing or whatever, there has to be a Bahamian complicit in this, who for whatever reason is making it happen. When we talk about enforcement, we have lots of laws on our books. Enforcement may be a problem with us. Enforcement has to come not only from some policing entity, but enforcement should come also from Bahamians. If I have a law firm and I bring in a foreign lawyer and there are any guys to sit in my firm and wait and work and get paid for work that a Bahamian ought to be doing, can I blame that foreigner? No, I have to blame the Bahamian who made it happen. So it's up to us to determine, to protect our sovereignty and to ensure that when we make laws, we have rules that they're adhered to. We should be the first line of defense in protecting our sovereignty. Madam President, apart from tourism, we depend heavily on foreign direct investment as part of our economic fabric. Foreign direct investment spurs economic growth, it provides employment, it produces improved technologies, and it can spin off into new business development in the local economy. To keep this stream flowing, Madam President, we must make it easy for those investing in our country to do business. We are part of a global village, as the world has come to be known. And if we want to participate fully and enjoy the benefits that come with that participation, we must be prepared to afford the same considerations to foreigners coming into our country as we want to be given, as we have come to expect, and the same considerations that we are in fact given when we travel to other countries. I recall when the first FNM administration in 1992, when the FNM permitted Saul Kirstner to come here as an investor to develop the Atlantis resort. And there was a lot of talk then among those opposite about our giving, what we were giving to this foreigner.
South Africans.
Right. And of course, there was the race card raised again.
No, I'm sorry, I got it. South Africans.
Excuse me, I'm going to allow the, if this is not a point of order, I've always said that I'd let them finish their presentation and then you can
Okay,
at the end.
perhaps I'll do it at that stage.
Yeah, do it at that stage. Senator, would you resume?
Thank you, Madam President. Yes, Madam President, there was a lot of talk then about this South African, this foreigner coming into the Bahamas and what we were allowing. And to my mind, it was race baiting. But look at what is happening now. Atlantis has become, I believe, the largest employer in our country. And we have benefited greatly from this investment. In fact, the benefits from this investment were so appreciated and so apparent that the first Christie administration sought to duplicate it with the Balma project. Unfortunately, they did not get the Balma project up and running, and it took the FNM administration under the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram to get it on its feet, to get it up and going. Madam President, the bill we are debating today will make us more attractive to foreign direct investment and open up more avenues for economic growth. We know it, and I'm sure those opposite know it. But as our former Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Hubert Ingram, used to say, what is good for the Bahamas is bad for the PLP. So naturally, they want to confuse the issue and muddy the waters. They understand what's going on, but they hope that the average Bahamian does not understand and that they can convolute their thinking. They think that their baseless criticism will cloud the eyes of the public, and they will not see the good that this government is doing. They believe that the average Bahamian voter will not understand the importance of employing good, transparent fiscal policies and practice. They believe that any misinformation they spew will prevent the Bahamian public from appreciating that the economy is in fact growing, that it will prevent them from appreciating the work that this government is doing, for instance, in education, where starting in September, Bahamians will be given free tuition at the University of the Bahamas. They believe that Bahamians will not appreciate the improvements that are being made to the Princess Margaret Hospital. Anyone who has seen the new intensive care unit of PMH would be rightly impressed. I had the unfortunate experience of having to visit a relative there more often than I would have liked. But I was truly impressed with the care, with the whole facility, with that whole new wing at the Princess Margaret Hospital. It was built by the FNM administration between 2007 and 2012. It stood essentially unoccupied during the PLP administration between 2012 and 2017. But now, under this current FNM administration, it is fully functioning wing, not only with a modern ICU, but a modern first-class neonatal intensive care unit, modern operating theaters, and I haven't seen the whole thing, but it's overall very impressive. And you know, we can also look at the PMH, the Corrie Newbo ward, which ordinary Bahamians use every day. The improvements, the renovation, that is just I mean, it's first class now. And you say that we're doing nothing for Bahamians, but these are the things that help Bahamians when they're most vulnerable, and I think that Bahamians appreciate it. Madam President, I'm sorry, I'm going on with the PMH because I've seen so many changes there that I think we all should appreciate. But also, you know, there's been so much diagnostic equipment that has been replaced, and old, useless, rusting equipment that was sitting in hallways and sitting in offices have been moved out and now replacing it so that people can get the proper care in the Princess Margaret Hospital. Madam President, I believe that the majority of Bahamians understand that nothing in this bill is harmful to them, despite the way the PLP is trying to fill their minds with propaganda and cloud their thinking. And in time, they will come to understand and appreciate not only this, but all the other things that this FNM is doing in their interest. Madam President, I said at the beginning that I support this bill, and I will end by saying just that. I give my support to this immigration amendment bill. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Senator. Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Dr. Michael Darble.
Thank you so much, Madam President. Madam President, when Senator Henfield was to his feet, he made a statement that the Progressive Liberal Party, under the leadership of Darble and Sears, he will consider coming over.
Madam President, I rise on a point of order.
I didn't say that?
No, no, no.
Oh, you clarified it quick for me, please. 'cause
Never
that's what I
said
heard.
that.
Yes.
Never
that's
said
what I
that.
heard.
Please,
Sorry.
no, please retract that. I never said that.
Oh, you never said that?
Never said that.
Okay.
Madam
okay,
President.
I'm sorry. I retract it. I retract it.
Okay, thank you.
I retract it. But I give him credit for his courage because, like us on this side, he too see deficiencies with this bill and in an indirect way suggested some possible amendments to the bill that would prove to be beneficial to young professionals, the business community, and the general public at large. I commend you for that because it takes a lot of courage to make that type of statement with where you sit. Madam President, this afternoon, I rise to make my contribution to the Immigration Amendment Bill 2019, which was supposed to be debated in our last sitting, but it's before us today. I don't intend to be long because our colleagues in the other place clearly outlined the PLP's position concerning these amendments. But I want senators to be rest assured that I have a lot to say about issues affecting our local economy, issues affecting Grand Bahama healthcare, education, and the direction we're heading as a nation. After laying the midterm budget in the other place, the government opted not to debate its content at that sitting, and we said to this administration, you can run, but you can't hide the facts. By law, you got to put the 2019-2020 budget, you got to lay it in Parliament, so within a few weeks, we would have to face the opposition face to face, and the people of this country head on during the debate and demonstrate what the Free National Movement has done in their last 2 years in office. Not political rhetoric. We want the facts. And we know that with this budget, numbers don't lie. Madam President, we on this side lost that opportunity to debate the midterm budget, but trust me, we are ready to bring to the forefront the hidden issues affecting the nation, like the state of our broken economy, the details surrounding the Lucayan deal, the government's failure to reduce spending, the current issues affecting Grand Bahama, healthcare, what's going on in NHI, and the government's lack of accountability and transparency during their last 2 years in governance. The truth of the matter is, after 2 years, the Free National Movement is still lost somewhere out to sea. And other than the policies put in place and the projects left behind by the Progressive Liberal Party, this led administration is desperately trying to become relevant. Madam President, we believe the government is ill-advised with these proposed amendments to the current Immigration Act. The bill, as far as we're concerned, is being rushed through Parliament. It's not well thought out. It reflects failed policies in other jurisdictions and simply prove that the Free National Movement, members of Parliament are divided concerning the government's legislative agenda. Madam President, during the debate in the other place, 14 of the government 34 MPs chose not to vote. That's about 41%, including 6 ministers, all missing in action, confirming to the country that the party is divided concerning these controversial issues, such as the Commercial Enterprise Act and the opening up of our borders that could potentially displace Bahamian workers, jeopardizing our Bahamianization policies that created opportunities for Bahamians in all walks of life, some of us who sit in this honorable place. Madam President, let me say from the onset that I do not support the bill in its current form, which seeks to make provisions for the BH-1B work visa, the BH-4S permit, and the provisions in the bill that would allow short-term work visas to be exempted. Madam President, the bill is lacking, it's poorly drafted, and like thousands of Bahamians who live and work in this country, I believe the bill in its current form will displace Bahamian workers and in the long run prove to be counterproductive. Madam President, I believe the appropriate time during the debate, the leader on our side will move some amendments that we believe would protect Bahamian workers, and if they are not approved, I'm sure he will call a divide, so that the record would reflect in this honorable place who voted for this legislation and who did not. I will certainly be voting against it and encourage senators on the side opposite to follow many of their colleagues in the other place. I believe that the bill, if passed in its current form, without the necessary protective amendments, on coming to office, we on this side intend to repeal and replace the Commercial Enterprise Act with the amendments to the Immigration Act. I'm putting you on notice. When the Progressive Liberal Party gets another opportunity to govern. Madam President, over the last 3 weeks, we have listened to the feedback coming from professional bodies across the country, particularly the legal profession, concerning the negative impact this bill would have on their bottom line and the potential competition with their foreign counterparts who would most definitely capitalize on opportunities to compete in our local market. Madam President, I learned that prior to laying this bill in the other place, there was little or no consultation across the board. And I think Senator Henfield made a very valid point when he said the legal profession was not even consulted. Unfortunately, in the last minute, the government opted to present the bill in its current form without the proposed amendments. But we say to them today, it is a big mistake. Madam President, the insertion of Section 30B and C in the Principal Act is a problem for us on this side. Section 3, subsection 5 and 6 indicate that the BH-1 visa is valid for a period of 3 years and may, subjected to the discretion of the Director of Immigration, be renewed for further 3 years. I have a problem with this because there's nothing that indicates that the work permit holder will be subjected to labor clearance on the renewal. How are we going to address this issue of transference of knowledge if we allow a work permit holder to have access to the knowledge for 6 years without training a Bahamian? We need to ensure that the Labor Department ensure that a mechanism is put in place for the transfer of knowledge where Bahamians could be trained and replace the expat worker. But one of the major concerns I have with the bill is the insertion of Section 32A in the Principal Act that would provide exemption for the requirement to apply for short-term work visas.
2 seconds, Minister.
Chair recognizes Senator the Honorable Carl Bethel.
Thank you. How much longer you?
I have a little while. So
You have a little while. So we should break here then. It would be convenient time to break for lunch.
Yes, sir.
Since it's 5 minutes to 1.
Okay.
Madam, I beg leave to move that the Senate to suspend its proceedings until 2:30 p.m. today, Monday the 13th, I believe it is, of
May.
May 13th, 2019. If I may obtain a second.
Madam President, I rise a second.
It has been moved and seconded that the business of the Senate suspend to 2:30 p.m. this afternoon, May 13th. All those in favor would say aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The business of the Senate do stand suspended to 2:30 this afternoon.